They say heartbreak sounds like silence, but mine sounded like laughter. His laughter. Jackson's. I still remember the way his voice filled my apartment that night, thick with arrogance and cheap whiskey. You'll never find someone like me, Jasmine. I'm one of a kind. I didn't cry. I didn't even argue. I just stared at him. This man I'd once believed was the best part of my life and felt something inside me snap. Not my heart, my patience. My name is Jasmine Shelton. I'm 30 years old, and I just walked away from the man who convinced me that love was supposed to hurt. Jackson Miller was the kind of man who entered your life like a storm, loud, dramatic, impossible to ignore. For 2 years, I mistook the chaos for passion. I mistook his control for care. I mistook his constant criticism for honesty. We'd been fighting for weeks. He wanted me to quit my design job because, as he put it, you'd have more time for us. By us, he meant him. When I told him I couldn't make his friend's art show because of a project deadline, he erupted. You care more about strangers on a screen than your boyfriend pathetic. I'd heard that tone before Sharp Final designed to make me fold. But this time, something shifted. I looked at him. Really looked. The smirk. The arms folded like a judge awaiting my apology. The smug certainty that I'd grovel like I always did. Instead, I whispered, "You're right." He blinked. "What?" "You're one of a kind," I said. Thank God for that. Then I grabbed my jacket and walked out. No tears, no grand exit music, just the sound of his stunned silence behind me. The first few nights alone were unbearable. 2 years of routines vanished. No goodnight texts, no weekend brunch arguments disguised as conversations. My apartment felt like an echo chamber of things I didn't want to remember: his cologne, his half-used toothbrush, the dent in the couch where he used to sprawl while I made dinner. I deleted his number, blocked him on every app, and threw his things in a box. But grief has a funny way of disguising itself. It comes back as curiosity. 3 days later, on a Sunday morning, I did something I swore I wouldn't. I reinstalled the dating app I'd deleted for him. Not to meet anyone, just to remind myself that the world was bigger than Jackson Miller. Swipe left, swipe left, swipe left. Then my thumb froze. The profile picture showed him. Jackson. Or at least I thought it did. Same sharp jawline. Same dimple on the right cheek. Same eyes that had once looked at me like I was both a prize and a possession. But the name wasn't Jackson. Jordan Miller, 30. ER surgeon. Loves hiking dogs and black coffee. Bio, no drama, no games. Just looking for something real. I felt my stomach drop. Either Jackson was playing some twisted game or the universe was mocking me, but the photos didn't fit. The man in these pictures smiled differently, less rehearsed, more real. His clothes weren't designer labels. They were hospital scrubs, mountain trails, messy hair, no filters. Still, the resemblance was too close. I whispered to my empty living room, "You've got to be kidding me." My finger hovered over the screen. Curiosity won. I swiped right. A second later, it's a match. My heart skipped. This was insane. Maybe Jackson had made a fake profile to test me. Maybe he was trying to see if I'd bite. But then, a message popped up. Jordan. Hey, this might sound weird, but do you know someone named Jackson Miller? My throat tightened. My thumbs trembled as I typed back. Jasmine. We dated for 2 years. Broke up last week. Why? The typing bubbles appeared instantly. Jordan. Because he's my twin brother. We haven't spoken in 7 years. Can we talk? For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Twin brother. The resemblance suddenly made sense. But twins, Jackson had never mentioned a brother. Ever. He'd always told me he was an only child. Claimed his parents died when he was young. No siblings. No family left. Every story he told me, the sob stories, the lonely childhoods, they were all lies. I sat there shaking. Why would he hide a twin? Why lie about something like that? What else did he lie about? A second message came through. Jordan. I promise I'm not messing with you. I just think you deserve to know why he is the way he is. Coffee tomorrow. I stared at my phone for a long time before typing. Jasmine tomorrow. 2 p.m. Luna Cafe downtown. He sent a thumbs up emoji. Casual, simple, but I could feel the tension threading through every letter. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying every moment with Jackson, his manipulative apologies, his possessive streak, his stories about being misunderstood. What if the person he wanted me to see wasn't real at all? Around midnight, I dug through old photos, ones I hadn't deleted yet. Jackson smiling at the beach. Jackson at dinner. Jackson with that same dimpled grin. Now that I knew there was another face like his out there, I couldn't unsee it. Every image looked staged artificial, like a copy of something genuine. I whispered into the darkness, "Who are you really, Jackson?" The next morning, I almost bailed on the meeting. My rational side screamed, "This is insane, Jasmine. You're meeting your ex's twin brother." But something deeper, a mix of fear and curiosity, pushed me out the door. Luna Cafe was crowded with the usual morning rush. I spotted him instantly. Jordan Miller, same face, different presence. Where Jackson carried himself like a performer waiting for applause, Jordan sat quietly stirring his coffee, lost in thought, his posture relaxed, his eyes gentle, his expression almost apologetic when he looked up and saw me. He stood and smiled. "Jasmine." I nodded, still half in disbelief. "You really do look like him." "Unfortunately," he said with a faint laugh. "Trust me, it's not a compliment." That single line, half humor, half pain, told me everything. This wasn't a trick. This wasn't Jackson. This was someone who had spent years trying to not be him. We sat. The silence stretched, awkward, but strangely comfortable. Then he said quietly, "I know this must be weird. I recognized you. Jackson's been using your photos." My stomach dropped. "What?" "Someone sent me screenshots. A fake profile. Your name, your face, his captions. I figured he was doing it to manipulate someone. Then I saw your dating profile. I had to reach out." I felt a chill crawl up my spine. Jackson had made a fake account of me. My voice cracked. Why would he do that? Jordan's expression darkened. "Because that's what he does." He hesitated, then added, "Look, I don't want to overwhelm you, but Jackson, he's not just selfish, he's dangerous when he feels abandoned." I swallowed hard. He told me he didn't have a family. Jordan's jaw tightened. "He said the same thing about me, about everyone. But I'm very real, Jasmine, and I think you deserve to know what you got away from." He pulled out his phone, opened an old photo. 2 identical boys in high school uniforms smiling at the camera. Jackson flashing his usual cocky grin, Jordan looking reluctant beside him. "That was the last time we looked like brothers," he murmured. I stared at the photo, my heart racing. 2 identical faces, but only one of them still had a soul behind the eyes. He looked up. "Dinner tomorrow, I'll tell you everything, but only if you're really ready to hear it." I hesitated, then nodded. "Tomorrow." As I left the cafe, a cold wind brushed past me, carrying the faint scent of roasted coffee and something else, an omen maybe. Because I had no idea that meeting Jordan would drag me straight into the storm I thought I'd already escaped. When I opened my eyes the next morning, sunlight spilled through my curtains like it didn't know my life had turned upside down overnight. I kept replaying his words, "Jackson's been using your photos." Every time I thought I'd reached the end of Jackson's lies, I found a new layer buried beneath. Still I went, because some part of me needed to know what kind of man I'd really been loving. Jordan was already at the cafe when I arrived. This time, he wasn't wearing hospital scrubs like in his photos. He wore a plain gray t-shirt and jeans, casual, unassuming. But those eyes, the same shape, the same green flecks as Jackson's, held none of that predatory sharpness. They were tired but kind. He smiled when he saw me. "You came. I said I would." We sat at a corner table. I ordered tea. He ordered another black coffee. There was a pause, the kind of quiet that fills the space when 2 people realize they're standing in the shadow of the same person. "So I began, you and Jackson are twins. Identical technically, but that's where the similarity ends." He gave a short, humorless laugh. "We used to be close. We shared everything, clothes, secrets, even birthdays. But somewhere along the way, Jackson decided sharing wasn't good enough. He needed everything to be his." As Jordan spoke, I felt something twist inside me. Every story he told lined up perfectly with what I'd lived through. Jackson had once stolen Jordan's college recommendation letter and submitted it as his own. He spread rumors about Jordan being unstable when he didn't get accepted. Their parents sided with Jackson because he was charismatic, persuasive, and always played the victim. "He's always been like this?" I asked. "Always. Manipulative, charming, magnetic. But there's something darker beneath it." "He told me he was an only child," I whispered. "Of course he did." Jordan's voice hardened. "He erased me from his story. He always erases anyone who sees through him." The waitress brought our drinks. Steam rose between us, curling like smoke from an old wound. I stared at the rippling tea surface. He lied about everything, even his family. Jordan's jaw clenched. "You're not the first person he's done this to, Jasmine." He hesitated before adding softly, "You might not even be the worst." That sentence made my blood run cold. He told me about 7 years ago, the year everything collapsed. Jordan had been engaged to a woman named Lily, another doctor in his residency program. Jackson had just gone through a breakup and needed a place to crash. Out of guilt, Jordan let him stay in his apartment for a few weeks. One night, Jordan came home early from a double shift and found Jackson in bed with Lily. My throat went dry. "Oh my God." "Yeah," Jordan said quietly. "But it gets worse." Jackson had been pretending to be me for weeks. He used my clothes, my voice, my phone. He'd text Lily during the day, set up lunches, tell her I missed her. She thought she was sleeping with her fiancé. He rubbed his temples. When she realized she couldn't process it, she left. I lost her my home, my reputation, everything. Jackson told our parents I'd lost my mind, that I was jealous, that I'd made it all up. They believed him. There was a long, heavy silence. I didn't know what to say. "I'm sorry," I finally whispered. "Don't be. You didn't know what he was. Neither did you," I said quietly. He gave a faint smile. "Fair point." We sat there for another hour, long enough for our drinks to go cold and the afternoon crowd to start trickling in. Somewhere in that time, my shock turned to anger. He told me I was paranoid, that I overreacted. Every time I tried to leave, he'd beg, then accuse, then cry. "He knows exactly how to shift the blame," Jordan said. "He studies people until he finds what breaks them. Then he uses it, like a game, like survival." His words lingered in the air. There was no bitterness in them, just the exhaustion of someone who'd already drowned in that same storm. Jordan leaned back in his chair, studying me. "Can I ask something?" "Sure, why did you stay so long?" The question hit harder than I expected. I opened my mouth, then closed it. Because he made me feel like I was the only person who could save him. Like if I left, he'd fall apart. I didn't realize he'd already fallen and was just pulling me down with him. Jordan nodded slowly. "That's exactly how he operates." Then he said something I'll never forget. "Jackson doesn't love people, Jasmine. He collects them." He checked his watch. He had a hospital shift in an hour. Before leaving, he pulled a folded invitation from his pocket and placed it on the table. "Our parents' anniversary. 35 years. Country club. I wasn't going to go. Why are you showing me this?" "Because Jackson will be there, and I think it's time my family saw who he really is. But I can't do it alone." I frowned. "You want me to come?" He smiled, tired but certain. "You already know the mask he wears. You've survived it. I need someone who's seen the real him." I stared at the gold-embossed invitation. The edges were trembling between my fingers. "I don't want revenge," I said finally. "Neither do I," he replied. "I want closure." He stood, left a tip on the table, and looked at me one last time. "Think about it, and be careful. Jackson doesn't let go easily." That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the invitation glinting faintly under my lamp. Jackson's face, Jordan's face haunted me in overlapping flashes. One smirking, one solemn, one liar, one healer. My phone buzzed, an unknown number, a text. "Jackson, you think you're free? You're not. You'll come back like you always do." My hands shook as I deleted the message. Maybe Jordan was right. Jackson didn't love people. He collected them, and I'd just managed to break off the chain. But something told me the collection wasn't finished yet. The night before the dinner, I couldn't stop pacing. Every time I tried to close my eyes, I saw his face. Their face split in two, like a mirror cracked down the center. One half smiling with warmth, the other half smirking with menace. I kept asking myself why I'd agreed to meet Jordan again, why I couldn't just block both twins and move on. But curiosity has its own gravity. And maybe part of me wanted to face the monster I'd loved, even if it meant staring at his reflection. We met at a quiet Thai restaurant tucked behind the hospital where Jordan worked. He looked exhausted, still in scrubs, his stethoscope slung around his neck like an afterthought. He gave a small smile when I walked in. "You actually came. You said you'd tell me everything. I will. But before I do, are you really done with him?" That question caught me off guard. "Jackson, yeah. I blocked him. I deleted everything." "Good," he said softly. "Because after what I tell you tonight, you'll never want him back." We ordered dinner, but neither of us touched the food. Jordan started slowly, like someone unwrapping a bandage that had stuck too long to the wound. "Jackson and I were inseparable when we were kids. Same clothes, same haircut, same everything. We used to play this game where we'd switch places, fool our teachers, our friends. It was harmless, until it wasn't." He looked down, tracing the rim of his glass. "By the time we hit high school, he wanted to be seen as the better twin. More charming, more talented, more special. If someone complimented me, he'd find a way to ruin it. Ruined how I asked. Rumors, mostly. Lies. He told people I cheated on exams. Told our parents I'd stolen his money. He even convinced my girlfriend at the time that I'd been unfaithful. Did your parents believe him? Always, he said, voice flat. Jackson was their golden boy. He could do no wrong. I was the difficult one, the quiet one, the one they said needed therapy. I could see his hands tremble slightly. He wasn't telling me a story. He was reliving a trauma. He told me how things escalated in their 20s. Jackson dropped out of college and floated between jobs, charming people, just long enough to take what he needed. Jordan, meanwhile, worked through medical school, fell in love, got engaged to Lily. Jackson showed up right after our engagement party, he said. Said he wanted to reconnect. I was naive enough to believe him. Jordan's voice cracked. He moved in, claimed he was broke. Lily felt sorry for him. She said, "He's your brother Jordan. Give him a chance." He paused. I could tell he didn't want to say the next part, but forced himself to. One night I came home early from a night shift. The apartment was dark. I heard voices from the bedroom. I thought Lily had fallen asleep watching TV. "Jordan," I whispered. It was him, Jackson, in my bed, pretending to be me. The air left my lungs. He pressed his hand against his forehead like he was trying to keep the memories from spilling out. He wore my clothes. He used my phone. He'd been seeing her for weeks, sending her texts, meeting her for lunch, sleeping with her, all while pretending to be me. "What did you do?" I confronted him. He laughed. Said, "She liked me better." Lily was horrified, of course, but Jackson told her I was unstable, that I'd been imagining things. By the end of that week, she'd left town. I lost her and my family in one move. He looked up, eyes glistening. "You asked me why he lies, Jasmine. It's because truth doesn't get him what he wants." I sat frozen, the Thai food untouched and cold between us. Everything Jordan said fit Jackson perfectly. The manipulation, the charm, the need to be adored, the cruelty when cornered. It was like hearing my own past narrated by someone else. I used to think I could fix him, I admitted. I kept telling myself if I just loved him right, he'd change. "You can't fix someone who enjoys breaking you," Jordan said. His tone wasn't bitter, just matter of fact, like a doctor diagnosing a wound too deep to stitch. He glanced at the restaurant window. Outside, rain had started to fall, streaking the glass like teardrops running backward. "I haven't spoken to my parents since that night," he said quietly. "They believed Jackson when he told them I was jealous and vindictive. I moved here 6 years ago, changed hospitals, built a new life, and Jackson. Last I heard, he moved to your city 2 years ago." I felt my stomach knot. 2 years ago? That's when we met. Jordan nodded. Figures. He always finds someone who reminds him of what he lost. A long silence settled between us. Then Jordan reached into his jacket pocket and took out a folded photo, 2 identical teenage boys. Jackson's arm slung around Jordan's shoulders, both smiling at the camera. But even in the photo, you could sense the imbalance, Jackson's grin loud and demanding. Jordan's eyes soft, almost apologetic. "I used to hate this picture," Jordan said. "Now it's proof that we were once the same, before he became someone I couldn't recognize." I traced my fingers lightly over the image. "You kept it all these years." "Yeah. I guess I hoped he'd find his way back. Has he tried? He doesn't do apologies. He does comebacks." That made me shiver. The waitress brought the bill, but Jordan waved her away. "There's one more thing," he said. "Our parents are having their 35th anniversary party next week. Jackson will be there. And I wasn't going to go. But maybe it's time. Maybe they need to see who he really is. You want me to come, only if you want to. You've seen The Mask. They haven't." I stared at him. The idea terrified me. But part of me wanted to see Jackson's face when he realized he couldn't lie his way out anymore. "If I go," I said slowly, "we do it your way. No revenge, no scene." "Agreed," he said, though the faintest hint of something darker flickered in his eyes. As we stood to leave, he added quietly, "Just be careful. Jackson doesn't handle exposure well. When people see who he really is, he unravels." That night, lying in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling that something inevitable was already in motion. The truth had been buried for 7 years, and Jordan was about to dig it up with me, holding the shovel. I scrolled through old photos of Jackson one last time. In every picture, his smile looked just a little too wide, his eyes a little too empty. And for the first time, I realized what I'd been looking at all along. A man who wore love like a disguise. The invitation sat on my kitchen table for 3 days before I touched it again. Heavy cardstock gold embossing, elegant cursive. "You are cordially invited to celebrate the 35th wedding anniversary of Dr. and Mrs. Miller." It should have been a symbol of love, family, legacy. But for me, and for Jordan, it was a grenade wrapped in glitter. He texted me the next morning. Jordan decided. I'm going. Jasmine. Are you sure, Jordan? 7 years is long enough to hide. Jasmine. What about Jackson Jordan? He'll be there. But this time, he won't be the only one telling stories. The words made my heart race. I'd told myself I was done with Jackson, that I'd buried that part of my life. But trauma doesn't stay buried. It hums under your skin, waiting for the smallest sound to wake it. And Jordan's text was the alarm clock. We met later that week at his apartment, a small, meticulously tidy place that screamed control through chaos. Books stacked evenly, hospital schedules pinned to corkboards, not a single item out of place. The air smelled faintly of antiseptic and coffee. He handed me tea. You don't have to do this, Jasmine. I know. Jackson can be dangerous when he feels cornered. You think I haven't seen that, I said quietly. He studied me for a moment, then nodded. Fair. We sat across from each other, planning without calling it a plan. Jordan would attend with a guest me. Not as his date, but as his witness. Someone who'd seen behind Jackson's charm, who could recognize every manipulation for what it was. You're not going there to fight him, Jordan said. I'm going there to survive him, I replied. That made him smile, a small, genuine thing that softened his entire face. For a moment, I saw what life could have been if Jackson hadn't poisoned it for both of us. Over the next few days, Jordan and I talked more than I'd expected. Sometimes about the event, sometimes about nothing at all. He'd text me late at night from the ER, another 18-hour shift. Coffee should count as a blood type. And I'd reply, sleep is overrated. Just ask every designer on a deadline. Somewhere between the exhaustion and sarcasm, a quiet understanding formed between us. Not attraction, not yet, but a rare kind of safety. The kind that feels like oxygen after years of breathing smoke. A week before the anniversary, Jordan called. His voice sounded strained. He knows. What do you mean, Jackson? My mom told him I'm coming. She tried to warn him to be civil, and now he knows I'll be there. Did she say you're bringing someone no names? But she mentioned I wasn't coming alone, and Jackson's not stupid. I felt a chill run through me. You think he'll confront you? He'll do worse. He'll perform. That weekend, Jordan asked me to go shopping with him. If I'm walking into the Lion's Den, I might as well look presentable, he joked. We went to a small boutique downtown. He picked a navy suit. I chose a dark emerald dress. Simple, elegant, a quiet statement that I wasn't there to hide anymore. At the checkout counter, the clerk smiled. You two look good together. Jordan's face froze for half a second, then softened. We're not... I cut in, smiling politely. Thanks. Outside, the silence stretched between us. Sorry, he murmured. For what? For dragging you into all this. Jordan, I said gently. Jackson dragged both of us a long time ago. You're just giving me a chance to stand up this time. He exhaled a long breath that sounded almost like relief. That night I dreamed of mirrors. 2 reflections, 2 identical faces, one whispering apologies, the other smiling through blood. When I woke, my heart was pounding. I reached for my phone, one new message from a blocked number. It didn't say who it was, but I didn't need to guess. Unknown. Funny. You're dressing up for Jordan now. Guess you like repeating mistakes. I stared at the words, bile rising in my throat. Jackson was watching. I sent the screenshot to Jordan. Jasmine. He texted me again. Different number. Jordan. Ignore it. He's losing control. Jasmine. He doesn't lose control. He performs losing control. Jordan. You really did know him, didn't you, Jasmine? Better than I wanted to. He called a moment later. His voice was calm, but there was a new edge under it. I won't let him touch you, Jasmine. You can't promise that. Then I'll try anyway. It wasn't a de-Jasmination. It was a vow born from guilt and empathy. The day before the anniversary, I stood in front of my mirror, holding the emerald dress up against my body. It wasn't about beauty or vanity. It was about armor. For 2 years, Jackson had told me who I was, emotional, dramatic, impossible to love. Tomorrow I'd let him see who I became without him, whole silent and no longer afraid. Jordan picked me up just before sunset. He looked composed, but the tension in his jaw betrayed him. You ready? He asked. No, but let's go anyway. We drove in silence. City lights bled into highway darkness, and the country club appeared in the distance. Gold lights twinkling through trees, a perfect facade for a family built on lies. As we turned into the parking lot, Jordan's hand gripped the steering wheel a little too tight. You can still change your mind, he said. So can you. Then I guess we're both stubborn. He smiled just barely, but I could see his pulse racing in his throat. When we stepped out of the car, I took one last deep breath. This wasn't just a reunion. It was an unmasking. And Jackson Miller was about to meet the one thing he could never manipulate: the truth. If the devil hosted a party, it would look exactly like the Millers' anniversary. Crystal chandeliers glimmered above perfectly arranged tables, string music floated through the air, and laughter polished. Practiced laughter bounced off every wall. But underneath the perfume and champagne, I could smell tension. It was thick, sour, and waiting to detonate. Jordan and I walked in together. He looked immaculate in that navy suit, shoulders squared like armor. I could see his reflection in the grand hall mirror, a man about to confront the ghosts that once wore his face. His mother was the first to notice him. The wine glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the marble floor. "Jordan," her voice cracked. The room quieted. Conversations froze mid-laugh. Dozens of eyes turned toward us, confusion spreading like wildfire. Dr. Miller, tall, gray-haired, and stiff as the stem of his glass, stared as if seeing a ghost. "You came," he said finally. "I did," Jordan answered evenly. "Didn't want to miss the show." I stood slightly behind him like a shadow. I wasn't there to steal focus. I was there to bear witness. His mother blinked away tears. "You look so much like—" And then she stopped, because the doors at the other end of the room opened and Jackson walked in. Same face, same posture, same jawline. But where Jordan looked grounded, Jackson looked performed. Everything about him was polished for attention. His tailored black suit, his confident grin, the hand of a woman on his arm. Her laugh was high-pitched, nervous. Jackson's voice carried through the room like a familiar nightmare. "Sorry we're late, traffic, you know how it is." The chatter resumed, but lighter now, uneasy. Because everyone could feel it, the collision coming. When his gaze landed on us, he froze. First confusion, then disbelief, then something darker. "No," he whispered. His date frowned. "What's wrong? That can't be." He took a step forward, then another. "You're not supposed to be here," he said, eyes locked on Jordan. "Why not?" Jordan replied coolly. "Family event, right? I'm family." Jackson's mouth twitched. Not anymore. The air crackled between them. Two identical men facing off under chandeliers, one calm, one unraveling. I could feel everyone watching, whispering, wondering. Jackson's date tried to break the tension with a laugh. "Wow, you weren't kidding. You do have a twin." But Jackson didn't even glance at her. His eyes darted between Jordan and me. Recognition hit him like a slap. "Jasmine." I met his gaze steady and unflinching. "Hello, Jackson." The smirk vanished. His jaw tightened. "What is this?" "Some kind of stunt." "It's called the truth," Jordan said. "You should try it sometime." Jackson's voice rose. "You brought my ex to our parents' anniversary. Are you insane?" Jordan's tone didn't waver. "Insane, maybe, but not half as delusional as pretending I don't exist." The murmurs grew louder. Jackson's mother pressed a hand to her chest. "Boys, please, Mom." Jordan interrupted gently. "You've been living with one son's story for 7 years. Maybe it's time to hear the other." Jackson laughed sharp and brittle. "Oh, here we go. The victim act. Poor Jordan, the misunderstood twin. Don't tell me you're still blaming me for your little meltdown." "You mean when you impersonated me and slept with my fiancé," Jordan shot back. The room fell silent. Even the string quartet stopped playing mid-note. Jackson blinked, then smiled tightly. "You really should get help for those delusions, brother." But Dr. Miller's voice cut through the tension, steady and low. "Enough." Jackson turned. "Dad, we know Jackson." His mother stepped forward, eyes brimming. "We know what you did. Jordan sent us the footage." Jackson's entire body stilled. "What footage?" "From your old apartment," Jordan said. "You never noticed the hallway camera, did you?" The crowd gasped softly. Jackson's facade cracked for the first time. His voice trembled. "You went digging through the past." "You're pathetic," No, Jordan said. "Just tired of watching you rewrite it." Jackson's date stepped back, confusion etched on her face. "What is he talking about?" she asked. Jackson snapped. "Nothing. She's my ex's friend. This is some setup." I took a deep breath. My pulse pounded in my ears. "Not a setup," I said evenly. "Just a reunion. You told me you were an only child. You told me your brother was dead." The room murmured again. Jackson's mask slipped entirely now, his eyes darting wildly, his smile twitching. "You don't get it," he spat. "He ruined everything. He took everything from me." "No," Jordan said quietly. "You destroyed everything that loved you." Dr. Miller placed a trembling hand on Jordan's shoulder. "We're sorry, son," he whispered. "We should have believed you." Jackson staggered back as if he'd been struck. You're taking his side after everything I've done for you. His mother's voice was soft but final. Everything you've done was for yourself, Jackson. Jackson's fury exploded. This is your fault, he hissed at me. You turned them against me. I didn't flinch. You did that all by yourself. He sneered. You think you've won something, he'll use you just like I did. It's in our blood. Maybe, I said quietly, but at least he bleeds honestly. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Jackson's date, still pale, grabbed her purse and walked out. He spun toward her. Wait, you don't know the full story? She didn't look back. Jackson stood alone in the center of the room, trembling, his reflection flickering in the crystal light. He looked at Jordan one last time. You'll regret this, he whispered. All of you. Maybe, Jordan said, but at least we'll regret it together. And then Jackson stormed out. The sound of the door slamming echoed like thunder after lightning. No one spoke for a long time. The string quartet quietly resumed, an awkward, uncertain melody. Guests began whispering again, pretending everything was fine, but everyone knew they'd just watched a family's facade collapse in real time. Jordan stood still, breathing hard. I touched his arm gently. You okay? I don't know, he said. I thought it would feel like justice. It just feels empty. His mother reached out, tentative. Jordan, can we talk privately? He hesitated, then nodded. As they walked away, I stayed behind, surrounded by the fragments of their family's perfect image. I caught my reflection in one of the mirrors. For a second, I could still see Jackson's face overlapping mine, the face that once told me I'd never find someone like him. And I smiled to myself, because now I understood he was right. The world felt unnaturally quiet after Jackson's storm. When Jordan and I stepped outside the country club that night, the air was cold, sharp, clean, the kind of chill that only comes after something's been burned down. Behind us, laughter had returned inside the ballroom, fake and fragile. But out here, under the faint glow of parking lot lamps, everything was still. Jordan loosened his tie. His hands trembled as he lit a cigarette, something he'd told me he hadn't done in years. The flame flickered tiny and nervous, just like both of us. I didn't even want to smoke, he muttered. I just needed to hold fire. I leaned against the car. You did it. They finally saw him. He let out a hollow laugh. Yeah. Took 7 years and a public meltdown. Then quieter, I thought I'd feel vindicated. But it just feels like morning. The drive back was mostly silent. Every streetlight flickered across his face 1 second, Jackson's features the next Jordan's. It was unsettling how easily the line blurred in the dark. When he dropped me off, he said, Thanks for coming. You didn't have to stay through that. I wanted to. Why? I hesitated because I needed to see that it wasn't me, that he really is broken. Jordan nodded slowly. He is, but he's not harmless. Keep your phone on tonight, okay? I smiled faintly. You sound like you're still protecting him. No, he said, looking at the steering wheel. Just everyone he's ever hurt. The next morning, my phone was buzzing before sunrise. 23 missed calls, 7 unknown numbers, 1 voicemail. I pressed play. Jackson's voice flooded my apartment, shaky, furious, unraveling. You think you embarrassed me. You think you can stand there with my brother and turn my parents against me. You have no idea what you've done. You're nothing without me, Jasmine. You never were. Click. I stared at the phone, bile rising in my throat. Then another text came in, this time from Jordan. Jordan. He showed up at my hospital this morning. Security escorted him out. I'm filing for a restraining order. By afternoon, the gossip had spread online. A video clip from the party Shaky phone filmed was circulating with captions like Family explodes at anniversary event and twin brothers confrontation goes viral. Someone had even tagged the hospital where Jordan worked. He called me again, voice tight. He's spinning it online, making it look like I staged the whole thing to ruin him. Ignore him. You can't ignore someone who thrives on reaction. He was right. Jackson didn't disappear. He multiplied. Fake accounts, private messages, whispers in mutual circles. By evening, my own inbox filled with messages from strangers. Is it true you slept with both twins? Jackson says you're obsessed with him. Homewrecker. I didn't cry. I'd done that years ago when I still thought his words mattered. Instead, I opened a new post, public short, simple. For the record, I dated one man. He lied about having a twin. I've met the other. He's everything his brother pretends to be. The truth always reveals itself eventually. Then I logged off. That night, Jordan came over. He looked exhausted but calm. We sat on my couch, 2 survivors drinking tea instead of celebrating victory. He'll escalate, he said quietly. He already is. Then we keep documenting everything. Don't engage. You sound like a doctor giving post-trauma instructions. Maybe I am. He smiled faintly. It's strange. All these years I thought the worst thing Jackson ever did was steal my fiancé. But watching him try to destroy you, it hit me differently. Because it's happening again. Because now I realize he doesn't just ruin people, he studies them first. He learns what love looks like so he can counterfeit it. That silence between us, it wasn't awkward. It was full. Full of everything neither of us could say aloud, that we'd both been fooled by the same face, the same voice, the same charm. That we both still carried the echo of him somewhere in our bones. The restraining order came through the next week. Jordan sent me a copy of the court email, short and procedural. I replied with one word, finally. He texted back an hour later. He'll violate it. He always does. And he was right again. 2 days later, my workplace called me in. Someone had reported me for harassment and stalking an ex. I knew immediately who it was. Fortunately, my manager knew the situation. Don't worry, Jasmine, she said. We've seen this kind before. But my hands still shook when I signed the HR form. Not out of fear, out of anger, that even after exposure, Jackson could still reach through the cracks. Jordan stopped by that evening. He looked heavier, not physically, but like someone carrying years of grief finally surfacing. He sat beside me quietly. My parents called, he said finally, and they want to meet. Just me this time. Will you go? I don't know. I've spent 7 years trying not to need them, but now they finally see the truth, and I don't know what to do with it. I understood that feeling too well when closure doesn't heal you. It just exposes how deep the wound runs. I placed a hand over his. You don't owe them forgiveness. Maybe not, he said softly, but I owe myself peace. We sat in silence. Rain began to fall, tapping softly against the window. In that moment, I realized something. Jordan wasn't my mirror image of Jackson. He was proof that trauma doesn't have to replicate itself, that two people can share a face and still choose opposite souls. He looked at me, then really looked. You're free of him now, Jasmine, are you? I asked. He hesitated. Almost. And that was honest enough. Later that night, as I lay in bed, another message buzzed onto my phone. No name, just one sentence. Unknown. If you think this is over, you don't know me at all. I stared at the words until they blurred into static. Then I smiled faintly, turned off my phone, and whispered to the dark, Oh, Jackson, I know you too well. That's exactly why I'm not afraid of you anymore. 2 months later, Jackson was silent. Not gone, just finally contained. The restraining order held. His social media accounts vanished one by one. His charm offensive withered under scrutiny, and the people he used to manipulate drifted away. Rumor had it he'd lost his job after the hospital incident went public. Another rumor said he'd moved back in with his parents under the condition that he attend therapy. For the first time in years, the world felt quiet. Jordan and I still talked every few days, texts, quick calls, the occasional coffee after his shifts. But it wasn't about Jackson anymore. It was about ordinary things, hospital stories, neighborhood cats, bad movies. After all the chaos, silence felt strange, but good. One evening, we met at a small park near the hospital. He was in scrubs, hair messy from another 12-hour shift. I handed him a sandwich and said, Doctor's orders, eat something that didn't come from a vending machine. He laughed. You're bossy for someone not wearing a lab coat. Occupational hazard of surviving, you Millers. He sat beside me on the bench, unwrapping the sandwich slowly. My parents called again, he said after a while. And they want to meet for dinner. Just us. No Jackson. Are you going? Yeah. I think I owe it to the version of me that waited 7 years to hear them say they were wrong. He looked away toward the playground. I don't expect miracles, but maybe I'll finally get peace. You deserve that, I said softly. And for once he didn't argue. As for me, life had moved forward one quiet step at a time. I'd started seeing someone new. A literature teacher named Noah. He was gentle where Jackson had been volatile, patient where Jackson had been cruel. He didn't demand to be worshipped. He just listened. Our first date was at a used bookstore. He handed me a dog-eared poetry book and said, Pick a line, any line. That's how we'll know if we're compatible. My line read, I have loved the stars too fondly to be fearful of the night. His grin was soft. Then you're already halfway healed. I didn't fall fast. I didn't need to. This time love didn't feel like falling. It felt like exhaling. When I told Jordan about Noah, he smiled like a proud brother. Good, he said. You needed someone real. So did you. Maybe someday, he admitted. Right now, I'm relearning how to be alone without feeling lonely. He paused, studying me with that same gentle honesty that had defined him from the start. You ever think about how easily people mistake performance for personality? Every day, I said. Jackson was a masterpiece of performance. He nodded slowly. He told me once he was one of a kind. I think he meant it as a warning, not a boast. Maybe it was both, I said, but he was wrong about one thing. What's that? There is someone like him. You. Same face, same blood, just the other side of the mirror. Jordan smiled faintly. Maybe that's why he hated me. I was proof that he didn't have to be the way he is. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The sun dipped below the horizon, streaking the sky with gold and lavender, the colors of endings that aren't quite sad. Weeks later, I got a handwritten letter in the mail. No return address, but the handwriting was instantly recognizable, elegant, slanted, too careful to be casual. Jasmine. They say people like me can change. They're wrong. We just learn how to hide better. But you changed. You learned how to stop letting me define you. Don't worry, I won't bother you again. You were the only person who ever saw me clearly, and you hated what you saw. Maybe that's punishment enough, Jay. I read it twice. Then I folded it neatly, slipped it into an envelope marked evidence, and handed it to Jordan the next day. He didn't say anything, just nodded. That night, I sat on my balcony watching the city lights flicker like distant stars. The wind smelled like rain, and for the first time, that smell didn't remind me of arguments or slammed doors. It reminded me of renewal. I thought about Jackson's words, "You'll never find someone like me." He was right. I never did. But not because he was irreplaceable, because I finally stopped looking for chaos disguised as love. Now, when I think of one of a kind, I don't think of him. I think of peace. I think of kindness. I think of the quiet strength it takes to start over without bitterness. A few weeks later, Jordan and I met for lunch. He looked lighter, still carrying his history, but no longer bound by it. "You seem happy," I said. "I am," he replied. "My parents and I are talking again. Baby steps, but real ones. That's good. You and Noah, still steady." He grinned. Then I guess the Miller twins finally did one good thing. What's that? They taught us what love isn't. We toasted our coffees to that. As we parted, I glanced back at Jordan walking toward his car. For a split second, the afternoon light caught his profile, the same jawline, the same eyes, the same resemblance to the man who once broke me. But I didn't flinch this time, because now I could tell the difference. You can copy a face, you can